baby, it feels good to be back. I was stuck deep in a hatch on an island aside from time, but we have returned. And I've got some stuff to say.
How do we use these things?
There's a new Transformers film coming out in September. We're about to see a new chapter in the Transformers saga that pays homage to the 80s cartoon era. Is this what you want? Are you happy now? I'm gonna talk about Transformers again. Transformers! This upcoming film is a prequel of sorts to the classic Transformers the movie. Before we dive in, just hit that tiny little like button so others see this.
Do it.
Hit the subscribe button while you're at it.
Do it.
Hit both.
Do it.
You don't want to miss out on what we're covering next week.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. Now, let's do the rewind thing. This week, our story takes place in the 80s.
He introduces the only cassette player.
You've gotta love the 80s. For some, it's a distant memory, and for others, it's the stuff of legend. If you weren't there, you've at least seen enough neon to understand it was a time when everything was cranked up to 11. Let me just show you.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock and roll.
Remains the most compelling argument for an open world.
The telephone is connected to the telephone network.
And it's called the compact disc.
Experts say the disease kills 4 out of every 10 people it strikes.
Then, Mr. Miyagi and I'll do the deliveries.
At home, at school, on the street.
Drugs are menacing our society.
The wreckage of the Titanic had finally been found.
There's been a nuclear accident in the Soviet Union.
How much do you think this advanced operating environment is worth?
You're now heading downrange.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Of the full moon.
If we want to talk about Transformers, we have to talk about toys. In the early 80s, if you thought American toys were wild, you hadn't seen anything yet. Japan was churning out transforming robots and vehicles that looked like they had escaped from a sci-fi movie, Diaclone and Microman. They were basically a fever dream of gears, chrome, and epic transformations. Then along comes Hasbro, who saw these Japanese creations and thought, we need to make these a hit in America. So they swooped in, imported the coolest of the cool, and slapped on a new coat of American paint. Imagine taking a sleek Toyota and turning it into a muscle car. It's just a lot more in your face. Now, if you're thinking, cool toys are great, but how do you get kids to lose minds over them? The hellscape multi-billion-dollar nightmare known as marketing devised a devilish plan. Saturday morning cartoons were born. Strategic gold mines designed to keep kids glued to the televisions and, more importantly, to their toy boxes. Transformers tapped into this marketing juggernaut like a pro, turning Saturday mornings into a robot-fueled frenzy. By 1985, the Transformers toy line was in full swing. They introduced new waves of figurines, including Devastator, who was basically a group of robots that combined into one giant unstoppable force. You see what they did? You have to buy multiple toys to get the toy! The way they fueled the expansion of new toys was with new stories. The animated series followed suit, weaving new characters and combining robots into epic storylines. Every new wave was a chance to explore new adventures and keep kids, their parents' wallets, hooked on the ever-expanding Transformers universe. Also, because somebody's going to say something about it, I know that Marvel was involved in this. Marvel was in charge of the initial creation of the cartoon and the storyline, and there was a comic book and all sorts of stuff. If you want me to get into Marvel's involvement in Transformers, why don't you go ahead and leave a comment down below and let me know? Maybe I'll make a third Transformers video.
What?
Hasbro and Sunbow Productions were enjoying their morphing robot empire, but then they got a little idea. Why don't we take the Transformers TV show and blow it up into a feature film? The plan was simple. Release the movie to boost the visibility of new toy releases and make sure your Sunday morning was filled with non-stop robot-fueled consumerism. So it's 1984. The early ideas were absolutely bonkers. I mean, imagine a dragon-based Autobot combiner. We ended up actually getting Unicron, the big transformer that turns into a fucking planet. Now, he was originally planned to be a cosmic nightmare with tentacles and planet-munching antics that would make your skin crawl. In the movie, you can see him tearing through planets like they're tissue paper. They decided the film deserved a high-octane, caffeine-fueled anime style, thanks to the influence of Fist of the North Star. Now, it's hard to find a lot of behind-the-scenes information on this, but in general, think less of a smooth production and more of a frantic scramble to fix things that just broke. Despite any chaos, it was in part thanks to an absolutely stacked voice cast. Peter Cullen brought his deep, resonant voice to Optimus Prime.
My name is Optimus Prime.
Frank Welker was Megatron. His voice work was so versatile, he could have narrated a shopping list and made it sound menacing.
I am Megatron, leader of the Decepticons.
Leonard Nimoy, as Galvatron, was basically like imagining Spock with a serious attitude problem. Judd Nelson voiced Hot Rod, bringing his rebellious spirit from The Breakfast Club into the robot realm. Casey Kasem, the voice of Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, and while there are many more voices in the soup than even that, one voice stands above the rest for its iconic nature alone.
Because until a few weeks ago, I had no hope of being elected.
Yes, Orson Welles. Citizen Kane, father of modern cinema, Orson Welles voiced Unicron, the planet-eating boy. Welles wasn't exactly thrilled about it and was battling health issues during recording, so his performance had to be patched together like a jigsaw puzzle with missing pieces.
Welcome, Megatron.
Unfortunately, Orson passed away in October of 1985, making Unicron's mostly synthesized voice his final contribution to cinema. This is where the magic, or the madness depending on who you ask, really kicked in. As mentioned before, they drew some serious inspiration from Fist of the North Star, which basically meant they were aiming for holy shit, did that just happen? Levels of insanity. Except of course, they were working with missing design sheets and a budget that wouldn't even cover a cup of Starbucks. Like the kind of budget where you're pretty much praying your visuals don't end up looking like a half-baked college art project. The final animation scenes had to be stitched together with duct tape and sheer willpower. It was seriously like trying to build a mansion with only half the blueprints and a credit card that was about to max out. But ultimately, in the fall of 1985, little cavity-riddled children across the country tuned in for their Saturday morning cartoons to find a surprise. The trailer for Transformers, the movie.
Hold on tight. The most incredible rock and roll adventure ever is here.
Feed him to the Sharkticons.
Starring Judd Nelson as Hot Rod, Leonard Nimoy as
Galvatron,
and Orson Welles. Beyond good, beyond evil, beyond your wildest imagination. Transformers, the movie.
All in all, excitement for the film was through the roof. The promise of seeing a larger, better episode of their favorite show excited fans. Reception before release was strong. Transformers, the movie, hit theaters on August 8th, 1986. Fans were buzzing with excitement, ready to see their favorite robots in a big screen spectacle. The narrative was a bold kick to the gut, featuring more drama than a soap opera marathon. Critics, they had mixed feelings.
I hated this movie.
Fans, on the other hand, were absolutely losing their shit, probably because their childhoods were getting kicked in the shins by the robot apocalypse. You see, they didn't take kindly to watching their beloved Optimus Prime bite the dust. That's right, Optimus Prime dies.
I can't watch. Let's get out of here, Kyle.
Yeah, it made people pretty mad.
Come on, let's go. Why are they doing this? Just run!
One thing, however, that was unanimous was the praise of the soundtrack. Because if there's one thing the film didn't skimp on, it was pure, unfiltered 80s synth energy. The soundtrack practically begged you to throw your hands up and shout, while your favorite robots were being torn apart on the screen. One particular line caused quite the stir among fans.
Oh shit, what are we gonna do now?
Imagine a time where the word shit was the most controversial news for a week. Simpler times. It was addressed in later releases, having scrubbed the shit clean, giving it a family-friendly polish, though it eventually made its way back into later releases. Transformers the movie left a mark on the Transformers franchise that is still felt today. Its darker themes and epic battles reshaped the Transformers universe. The death of Optimus Prime, basically used to usher in a new line of toys, was controversial and shocking. It has become, however, somewhat of a humorous cliche as well. Fast forward to 2024, and Transformers the movie still has fans buzzing enough to make a new animated film that feels the vibes of the original. It's exciting to see how the franchise continues to evolve and return to its roots. From the explosive legacy of Transformers the movie, this iconic series really never seems to slow down. Now let's turn the spotlight on you. What's your take on Transformers the movie? Were you cheering for the Autobots or mourning the loss of Optimus Prime? Do you want me to talk about Marvel and Transformers? If you dug this dive into film history, animation, and pop culture, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep your spark alive, and remember,
You got the touch!